Welcome back to the St. Louis podcast, and thank you for tuning in. As always, you got myself, Eric Brown. I am the host of this thing, and let's go ahead and get right into it. Today is going to be a doozy, and some people are going to be upset about this for the wrong reason, but everyone should be upset about this. And maybe upset is not the right word. Insert whatever word you'd like to have there, but let's talk about it. So we're going to talk about Ghislaine Maxwell's prison transfer, her secret meetings, lockdowns, and controversy surrounding this, because it's inevitably looking like she's going to be let off with a pardon, which is absolutely insane, of course. If you've been following this story for any time at all and know about Epstein and, of course, her direct involvement in the whole, scheme for, over 20 years? So let's get into it. So her recent moves have intensified scrutiny with allegations of political favoritism, lack of transparency from the Bureau of Prisons and Department of Justice, and persistent conspiracy theories about hidden dealings, Epstein's broader web, and potential executive interventions. All right, so let's start with her relocation, because that was, very odd to begin with, number one, and we'll go into why that's the case. So she was relocated around August 1st from the low-security Federal Correction Institute, Tallahassee in Florida, to the minimum security federal prison camp, Bryan, in Texas, which has been described as a sweetheart deal by critics. FPC Bryan, often called a club fed, houses low-risk inmates in a dormitory-style setting with minimal supervision, similar to where figures like Elizabeth Holmes, which, if you don't remember Elizabeth Holmes, she had the, I believe, the quick glucose monitoring for blood. That was a big scam. And Jen Shah, I don't know who that is, it's her time. This move required a special waiver from the Bureau of Prison Guidelines, which typically mandates that sex offenders like Maxwell, convicted of offenses involving minors, be placed in at least a low-security facility for public safety and rehabilitation reasons. Okay? Victims' advocates, including attorneys for Epstein survivors, have labeled it a cover-up, arguing it minimizes her crimes without notice to affected parties. The Bureau of Prisons confirmed that the transfer provided no rationale, sparking lawsuits and congressional inquiries for figures like Senators Ruben Gallego and Richard Blumenthal, who condemned it as preferential treatment in an August 12th, 2025 letter. Inmates at FPC Bryan report the camp's relaxed atmosphere has dramatically shifted since her arrival, with increased restrictions affecting daily life. Okay, so why would they do this, right? That's the big thing. Why are they moving her to a lower security facility, also notated as Club Fed, essentially a hangout? Now, it's not a great hangout, but it's a lot better than a, minimum high security prison. Big difference. And of course, Ruben Gallego and Richard Blumenthal, I think, are on point here. So this is the pre-transfer. We got a DOJ interview and timing in late 2025. So again, August 1st got moved. In late July 2025, right around July 24th and 25th, Maxwell was interviewed over 2 days by DOJ officials led by Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche. Now, Todd Blanche, of course, is former Trump's personal lawyer and acting associate Deputy Attorney General Diego Pestana. Transcripts released on October 22nd reveal Maxwell denying any knowledge of Trump engaging in illegal or inappropriate behavior with Epstein, while praising him extensively. Yeah, of course. You want to get out of prison. She also rejected claims of encounters involving Prince Andrew and dismissed broader allegations against Epstein's associates, right? It was just Epstein. No one else was involved. The interview's timing just days before her transfer has fueled quid pro quo speculations. Was her cooperation or silence, right, rewarded with a softer facility? Blanche later spoke broke his silence in September 16th in an ABC interview, calling it impossible to fully assess her credibility, but defending the meeting as part of reviewing Epstein-related files. Critics, including Senate Judiciary Committee members, have questioned ethics, noting Blanche's Trump ties could imply bias, of course. Maxwell reportedly carried a mysterious box after the sessions, contents unknown, adding to intrigue. This has prompted demands for full, unredacted transcripts and audio, which, of course, we will never see, and with some viewing it as an attempt to whitewash Epstein's network under the Trump administration. That is exactly what is going on. And I think anyone with half a brain that can see what is right in front of our faces, it is pretty apparent. And you can be mad. I think a lot of people just don't want to believe it for, their current beliefs and how they're held are going to be affected by this stuff actually coming out. So after she arrived to FBC Bryan, of course, at the beginning of August, the facility was placed on full lockdown to accommodate Maxwell's private meetings with unidentified visitors in the prison chapel. According to inmate accounts reported by the Wall Street Journal and others, these sessions lasted hours, with Maxwell emerging, smiling, and describing them as going really well. I'm sure they are for you. The lockdowns disrupted the camps, and this is entirely the opposite of what should be happening, right? She should be in a high-security prison. We should be getting all the information available from her. And, of course, I'm assuming we already have all of this. I don't even know why we still have to continue to talk to her, of everyone's involvement. And not just Epstein's, but high positions of authority and high positions in power. Which, I will go over the list again shortly, of people that were confirmed on planes that had direct involvement with Epstein. Now, it's not saying that they were involved with any of the, stuff that Epstein was involved with, but, if I'm a betting man, I would assume the majority on that list fall into that category. So again, she's having private meetings with unidentified visitors in the prison chapel. She's emerging from these meetings saying they're going well. The lockdowns disrupted the camp's operations, confining other inmates to their dorms, while Maxwell met freely. Speculation abounds on the visitors' identities, possibly DOJ follow-ups, her legal name, or high-profile figures tied to Epstein's circle, given the secrecy in a minimum security environment that rarely requires such members. Remember, they moved her to this minimum security, and they don't deal with these types of things at these types of prisons, bottom line. In September 2025, an NPR report noted that the Bureau of Prisons' priority is inmate safety, but this level of accommodation has been criticized as unusual. Victims groups held a September 3rd, 2025 press conference demanding transparency, calling it evidence of ongoing special deals. No official logs have been released, heightening theories of information exchanges or pardon negotiations. I'm sure it's exactly what's going on. Hey, if we pardon you, you say, I don't know anything. I don't know what you're talking about. So obviously, heightened security and incidents have been happening at the prison as well. The presence here at this prison, again, it's more of a low-key vibe into a more fortified environment with frequent lockdowns, deployment of special operation response teams, black tarps on fences to obscure views, and additional surveillance cameras. Neighbors in Bryan, Texas noted armed patrols and vehicles post-arrival. A key incident was a gang-related shooting outside the prison, prompting a rapid response where Maxwell was whisked to safety, while other inmates endured extended lockdowns, obviously highlighting the prioritization of her security and the prioritization of herself, right? Local law enforcement, including Bryan Police, assisted, but the Department of Bureau of Prisons, declined comment on specifics. This has led to inmates Complaints of disrupted routines like limited yard time and broader concerns about resource allocation for a high-profile convict. So we're spending us, people listening to this podcast, the government is spending our dollars on this person. That, I mean, dozens, if not hundreds of underage people were trafficked in through her. So, not a good look. So, we got preferential perks. Inmates have reported Maxwell receiving VIP treatment, including eating alone in her dorm, security escorts for late-night gym sessions, post-curfew showers, and meal deliveries. She's getting DoorDash in there. Perks, of course, that are not extended to others. This has bred resentment with prisoners hurling slurs like Como, which means child, go ahead and put the mo in there, and harassing her during activities. The warden held a town hall meeting warning against harming her. So the prison warden, held a town hall meeting warning against harming her or leaking info to the press, threatening transfers to harsher prisons. Insane. A CNN report from August 15, 2025 noted organizations like Canine campaigns refusing to let her join programs training service dogs due to her offenses. Obviously, it makes sense. Victims attorney argued this violates the Bureau of Prisons equity policies, while defenders say it's for safety. Social media inmate leaks, including podcaster Allison Gill, reveal her waived sex offender status enabled work release eligibility, further fueling backlash as an unfair leniency. Interesting. So they waived her sex offender status to enable work release. Everyone should be absolutely in roar about this. October 6th, during an Oval Office event, Trump told CNN's Caitlin Collins that a pardon for Maxwell is still on the table, and he'd have to take a look at it. We wish her the best. Following the Supreme Court's October 6th denial of her appeal, leaving clemency as her sole path to early release before 2037. Let her rot. Let her rot. This stunned Collins and drew backlash from MAGA figures like Laura Loomer, who warned it could damage Trump's image. No doubt. I don't think he cares. And House Speaker Mike Johnson, who advised against it on October 9th, but they voted against releasing the files. So what are you guys even talking about? Victims, including Virginia Guffrey's brother, called it hurtful in an October 8th statement. Rumors intensified after her DOJ interview and transfer, with some seeing it as a slow drip towards freedom. Trump has played coy, claiming he had no idea about her appeal. But his past Epstein ties keep the speculation alive, potentially risking political fallout amid midterm pressures. Of course, we have obviously Epstein's network ties and unresolved mysteries, right? The whole thing about who's actually involved in this. Because this was a massive network. And it wasn't just a massive network for, we could talk about the security side of things. It was really a massive security, security agency. They were using them. So, and obviously, getting whatever type of stuff that they were getting on all of the people that, were involved, right? I'm trying to walk around the edges as much as possible here. I think everyone knows what I'm talking about. All right, so Maxwell's role as Epstein's chief enabler. And of course, if you look at Epstein's family, where she comes from, I mean, that's a whole different discussion. Grooming and trafficking minors remains central to ongoing probes, with 2025 developments like the DOJ efforts to unseal grand jury materials from her and Epstein cases. A September 11th Bloomberg report analyzed Epstein's emails, showing Maxwell's deep involvement in his elite network, of course. She started distancing herself post-conviction, but failed to provide incriminating info on figures like Trump or Clinton in her DOJ interview. Yeah, of course not. She doesn't want to get... There's people above Trump and Clinton involved in this. If you think about her as an asset, she's not going to tell on her boss. Mysteries include a post-interview mysterious box, like I discussed before. She carried Republican-led House Oversight Committee demands for a testimony. And Treasury probes into suspicious activities report tied to her finances, expanded by Senator Ron Wyden on September 3rd. Victims, of course. September 3rd to 4th press conferences demanded full file releases, accusing the Trump DOJ of a smokescreen. Who was involved? Why is the secrecy? Of course, then we had the Jets overgo the press conference. So sparse direct evidence exists, but reports and timelines suggest private jets aligning with Maxwell's key events, amplifying conspiracies. For instance, during her 2025 DOJ interviews, transcript reference Epstein's private jumbo jet used for international trips with figures like Clinton. Post-transfer in August, mystery visitor arrivals at FBC Bryan coincided with heightened security, potentially involved chartered flights to nearby airports. At September 3rd, press conferences in Washington demanded end secrecy, noting timings of DOJ announcements. Trump's October 6th pardon comments to Caitlin Collins followed closely. After the Supreme Court's denial with social media speculations might reveal connections. And obviously then you had the jet, fly by over the press conference live as they're doing it. I'm sure that wasn't to, show a force of power or to try and make them scared. But I think it's a little bit too late to be scared for those people that are talking out about this. All right. So Maxwell's central role in Epstein's operation often involved facilitating access for high-profile individuals to his properties and private jets, as detailed in unsealed court documents, flight logs, and investigative reports. All right, so let's walk through some of this stuff. Now, below, kind of what I'm going to go about is through 1995 to 2004, we have a ton of manifests, flight logs. And I've talked about some of these people briefly before, but let's go ahead and talk more about this. So flight passengers. Now, of course, I'm not accusing these people of doing anything heinous, but I will just say they were involved with Epstein. Alan Dershowitz, he was a Harvard law professor and attorney, defended Epstein in his 2008 plea deal. Alec Baldwin, of course, we know him as the guy that killed someone on the set of Rust. Alexander Acosta, Alex Acosta, of course, he's the former U.S. Labor Secretary, oversaw Epstein's 2008 plea deal. Andres Pastrana, former Colombian president. Bill Clinton, obviously we know who he is. Bill Gates was boys with him after Epstein's original conviction. Chris Tucker, Courtney Love, Donald Trump, Ehud Barak, former Israeli prime minister, met with Epstein frequently. Elon Musk attended dinners and meetings with Epstein. George Mitchell, former U.S. Senate Majority Leader. Ghislaine Maxwell, obviously. Glenn Dubin, hedge fund manager. Billionaire investor. Harvey Weinstein. We all know Harvey. John Luke Brunel, modeling agency. Jeff Bezos. Kevin Spacey. Larry Page, who's Google co-founder. So now we got Google, Amazon, Microsoft, and hedge funds. Larry Summers, massive oh my God, you know what I'm saying. And former U.S. Treasury Secretary, oh my God. Les Wexner, obviously Victoria's Secret founder. Epstein was actually, had access, and he was the manager of all of his assets. Marissa Mayer, she's the former Yahoo CEO. Mark Zuckerberg, Meta, attended dinners. Naomi Campbell, Peter Thiel, Prince Andrew, Reid Hoffman, LinkedIn co-founder. So we got the largest companies in the world. Sergey Brin, the other Google co-founder. RFK Jr. Interesting. Steven Pinker, Ted Kennedy. Victor, some Russian billionaire, Victor Vekselberg. We know that they were, all right, these people were confirmed on the island. Bill Clinton, Ehud Barak, the former Israeli prime minister, Jess Staley, former Barclays CEO, Les Wexner, Prince Andrew, Stephen Hawking, Vladimir Putin. These people visited his New York townhouse. Bill Clinton, Donald Trump, Ehud Barak, Elon Musk, Fidel Castro, Glenn Dubin, Lawrence Summers, Larry Summers, Leon Black, billionaire, Les Wexner, billionaire, Mick Jagger, Rolling Stones. That's tough. That hurts. Mohammed bin Salman, Saudi Crown Prince, Pope John Paul II, former Pope, Prince Andrew, Richard Branson, another billionaire Virgin group, Steve Bannon, Woody Allen, film director. Yeah, if you know anything about Woody Allen, that adds up. So do we have a cover-up? What's going on? It's obvious something's going on. All right. We'll wrap that segment. On to the next. Okay. Just bad news after bad news. So I watched some YouTube channels and I was reading also some articles about the massive short positions that were taken out ahead of Trump's tariff last week. And obviously, crypto dropped across the board, and there are quite a bit of money made on massive short positions up until the point of him going on True Social and posting that at around 4 o'clock. So let's talk about this because, I have been essentially shitting on crypto since really Trump came into office because of, the Trump coin and everything else. It's absolute manipulation by whales and people that have a lot of money, and normal people like myself or anyone else that wants to use this as an investment tool, I think is foolish. Because it's apparent at this point that it's super controlled and they can pull the rug out from under you whenever the hell that they want to, just based on a simple Truth Social tweet or whatever the hell you call it on that platform. So, all right, so let's talk about it. So on October 11th, 2025, a wallet deposited $80 million USDC on Hyperliquid, opening a $450 million in Bitcoin short position, plus some Ethereum as well. This totaled over $700 million mere minutes before Trump's X post on 100% Chinese import tariffs, effective November 1st, of course, triggering the crash. Bitcoin plunged from 124,000 to 105,000. Ethereum lost double digits. In 19 billion in liquidations, hit 1.6 million accounts, the biggest ever. Tariffs escalated U.S.-China friction, sparking risk off across assets. The trader closed shorts within hours for $160 to $200 million in gains, one of crypto's quickest windfalls, then withdrew $150 million to a wallet with $386 million USDC, highlighting decentralized exchange opacity. Okay, so we have some potential people involved. Garrett Jin, he's ex-Bit4X CEO, is linked. He denied Trump's ties or insider trading on X October 13th, calling it a macro technical call on overbought markets with funds from clients. Social media dubbed it a Trump insider whale via Arkham Intelligence with unproven Barron Trump or Don Jr. links. Suspicious timing aside, no chain or legal evidence exists. U.S. laws demand non-public info proof. So, on October 18, 2025, Jin deposited $40 million for a 10x leveraged $340 million Bitcoin short at $116,000. Liquidation risks at $130,000, with $700 million $700 million in unrealized profits, potentially reinforcing manipulation suspicious to bearish conviction. This event spotlights insider risks in crypto's unregulated space, leverage dangers and oversight needs. This is just insane. And I was doing a little bit of research on this, and I'm sure there's a lot more that's going to come out about this. But the absolute market manipulation, my Lord, I can't even talk right now, that is going on in crypto. And, I've talked about stock markets before. Obviously, we know that that's, rigged. I don't think to as bad of an extent as we're looking at here when it comes to crypto. But if you look at, his tariff announcements, there are certain people that have lined up and have done very well whenever Trump does a tariff announcement. And I'll just kind of end it at that, and maybe we could talk about that more in upcoming weeks. But it is, I think, safe to say, or maybe what I'm reading into this is it's not so much him worrying about tariffs, but knowing how it's going to affect the markets and positioning himself, his friends, and everyone else in a position to make an ungodly amount of money on the backs of the people that voted to put him there in the first place. And the people, of course, that voted not to put him there as well. But on the American people. And obviously you got outside money as well, that's invested in crypto too. So it's not just US, but if we all just don't open up our eyes and see that, I don't know what to tell you. Maybe this is a hot take and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm reading into this too much. But I don't think so. I don't think so. All right. So do some research. Leave some comments below on what you guys think about that. Send me a DM if you have some more information. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people looking at the wallets and how this money was moved around to get a better idea of exactly what happened. And I'm sure that my boy, CoffeeZilla, hopefully will release something about this. Oh, it looks like he did. All right, well, I'll have to go watch that. 2 days ago, looks like he did. Oh, it was on his Voidzilla channel. Okay. So we'll have to look into that, but sketchy. And also, I think we've talked about tariffs on this, channel as well. I'm no economic expert. I'm not a genius when it comes to a lot of the stuff I talk about. I just bring stuff up, read about it, and hopefully don't sound like an absolute moron a majority of the time. And I think a lot of people don't, they read headlines, they kind of see, news stories, but they don't really, I don't think a majority of people were aware of what's going on with Ghislaine Maxwell, for example. And I don't think a majority of people were aware of what's going on, with Bitcoin last week and how the president essentially started a sell-off and people that are around him were in short positions, right? And you could probably go through a lot of terrible events throughout history, obviously in the last, 50, 60 years, and see direct comparisons and people shorting positions that don't make any sense, such as on 9/11. Look into that. We also have a potential war escalating in Russia and Ukraine. I mean, this seems like we're about to pop off World War IV or World War III, whatever you want to call it, because some people consider World War III the Cold War. So the next World War. And obviously there's Israel news, and I think we've talked enough about Israel, considering that's taking up like 90% of news right now, when, yes, it's awful what's going on. I've talked about this. But we have, I think, arguably a bigger situation going on here in Ukraine and Russia. Even though just weeks ago I thought that the things were cooling down, so I'm confused on exactly where we're going here. All right. So obviously this month, Trump threatened threats to supply long-range Tomahawk missiles to Kyiv has sparked Russian warnings of dramatic escalation, fueling fears of broader NATO-Russian confrontation that can engulf Europe and the U.S. in a world war. This, of course, is coming amid ongoing Russian provocations, nuclear saber rattling, and debates over Western support, highlighting the precarious balance between deterrence and escalation. So on October 12th, so just on Sunday, Trump stated he might supply Ukraine with long-range Tomahawk cruise missiles capable of striking 1,500 miles deep into Russia if Putin does not end the invasion soon. This marks a potential shift from previous U.S. policy limiting long-range weapons to avoid escalation, with Trump framing it as leverage in negotiations. Of course, Zelensky has been here like nonstop. I don't know what's going on. And so has, of course, Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu. They're all just hanging out here. So Zelensky is set to meet Trump in Washington this week to discuss that. And by the time this comes out on Friday, I think it'll already have happened, to discuss air defenses and new weapon systems, including long-range missiles like the Tomahawks. Can we stop? We stop funding this. Zelensky argues these are essential for striking Russian supply lines and airfields, shifting Ukraine's strategy from talks to armament amid stalled diplomacy. I said armament. I'm like, I had to read that like 5 times. I'm like, what is that word? The Kremlin expressed extreme concern over the Tomahawk proposal, with officials warning it could lead to severe consequences, of course, and be seen as a serious escalation. Russian leaders view it as a direct threat. Of course they do. Potentially crossing red lines and prompting retaliation, including nuclear options, as hinted in recent statements. We're playing with absolute fire. Analysts warn Russia's permanent test of NATO defenses through airspace incursions, drone sightings, and hybrid operations in Poland, Germany, and Lithuania is pushing Europe to the brink. European leaders fear they're already in a shadow war, with NATO unprepared for full-scale conflict, despite increased readiness. We have Russian warnings tying broader fears of World War III with the potential U.S.-supplied missiles to provoke nuclear responses. Putin's geopolitical tactics signal weaknesses, but could spiral if arms transfers proceed, amplifying global anxiety over a multi-front conflict involving Europe and the U.S. Tomahawks obviously could alter the battlefield by allowing Ukraine to hit distant target, but Russia warns it could escalate the war dramatically. I mean, obviously. I mean, really, it's still like a drone on the ground war with, short-range missiles. We haven't, it hasn't really, and obviously a lot of destruction. But it hasn't turned into World War III just yet. And we're just feeling the fire. So this is just a lot of, not great news around. I think as people, we need to be talking about this stuff. And not just online, but actually having discussions, with friends, family, people, normal stuff that people do, because people need to be aware. I think we're living in a time where I hate to say it, globalists are, it seems like they're just trying to kill the West as we know it. Western culture, however you want to describe it. We can already see Europe is, under attack of that. Look at the UK. Go ahead, do your own research. Well, we'll see where things end. Last thing, Science Corner. We got the Nobel Prize in Physics, breakthrough in quantum technology. Of course, on October 7th, last week, Nobel Prize in Physics awarded to John Clark, Michael H. Devereux, and John M. Martinez for discovering macroscopic quantum mechanical tunneling and energy quantization in electrical circuits. This work bridges quantum theory with everyday scale systems, paving the way for quantum computers, sensors, and cryptography, revolutionizing technology. And who actually knows what any of the hell that means? So we're going to leave it on that note. Congratulations to those guys. Cool. Keep it up. Make some cool shit with it. As always, this has been another St. Louis podcast episode. We appreciate everyone's support. Please like, review, subscribe, leave a comment. If you want to record a podcast here in St. Louis, you can visit halfcoaststudios.com, type in podcast studio St. Louis, because of course they show up number one, baby. If you just need help distribution or editing clips, whatever it is, they can handle it there as well. halfcoaststudios.com. Of course, if you want to talk to the best damn marketing company on the planet, you can talk to me. Go visit us, vi.media. Type in Vi Media on Google. Message me directly at Eric Kempf Brown across all platforms. Feel free and send us a message here. And of course, last but not least, are you warm or cold in your house? Are you uncomfortable? Is your energy bill high? You might need some insulation. So, you can visit westcountyinsulation.com. They'll come out. They'll give you a free project estimate. And more likely than not, if you have an older house, if you've done some potential remodeling, if you've had some restoration work done, if you had a roof leak, you might need to look. If you have rooms that are different temperatures and you're like, what's going on? Could be an insulation problem as well. Reach out to the boys, westcountyinsulation.com. That's all we have for today. Thank you for tuning in. As always, we appreciate your support, and we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.